Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Homemade. Welcome back to Homemade. If you were gone last week like we were, well, actually, I was. Homemade was not gone last week. They were working hard. Hello. So nice to see everybody. See those familiar faces. Thanks for coming. If you're new to Homemade, we'd love for you to participate. Turn your cameras on, participate in the chat. And then I see a lot of familiar faces, and if you've been a long-time Homemade person, you know what to do. And wonderful to see your faces. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Chef Diana, and our partner is Northeast Beef. We're so happy to be doing a fabulous summertime dish tonight, Kabobs. Absolutely delicious. We'll get to that in just a couple minutes here. I want to let everybody come in, get settled in with us. Such exciting times here at Homemade. So maybe you all took a little hiatus last week, but there was no hiatus here at Homemade. There was so much going on. It was so exciting, so exciting. And I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I just kind of had a little week off myself. But the PBS Homemade Live Season 2 was filmed in the studio last week, all 10 episodes, and it was hugely successful. So successful. And everybody, I walked into Homemade today, and you know, things are a little different after a week of filming, but everybody's sort of back in the zone, like just doing their job again. And I'm like, wait a minute, you guys just did this huge thing last week. And it was just really, really remarkable. I had the pleasure of attending as a live audience member last week, and the guest for the last episode for the finale was no other than Katie Couric, who I have been a huge admirer, huge fan of Katie Couric from the Today Show and beyond, and she was the guest, and I literally, this was my part in the Homemade Live Series 2. I sat my little tush right across where our fabulous Meg is, about 3 feet away from me. Meg here monitoring the chat after a long week. Hi, Meg.
Hey.
And Meg gave me a VIP seat at the counter. I was literally about 3 feet away from Katie Couric, and I was completely starstruck. I love her, and she was just as you would imagine. She was just as she was on TV, just friendly and intelligent and composed, and it was just quite a thrill. And our founder here, Joel, whom many of you know, is friends with Katie Couric, and I didn't know that. I mean, they were talking, Katie Couric was saying things to Joel like, Joel, remember that time you came over to my house and you brought all those pastries? And I'm like, what? Like if Katie Couric invited me over to her house, I would bring pastries or something else, but the world would know, right? The world would know. I had no idea. So they were just old chums, and so that was pretty fun. And it was just really special, wasn't it, Meg? Wasn't it a great week?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It did make me wonder, you just saying that, what would you bring to Katie Couric's house?
I don't know. I'd probably lose a couple nights sleep over that one and try to figure it out. But you know, after now that she's my friend, Casey and I'd feel much more relaxed about it, because she's so calm and so relaxed. And I heard she stayed for, you know, she hung out and she just greeted everybody and took pictures with everybody, and she was so great. And earlier in the week, I wasn't here in the studio, but some great speakers and guests and people attended. So what was your favorite part of the week last week, Meg?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, well, I was on the culinary team, so I think just like being part of a TV show, like just the whole thing was my favorite thing. Like it was really special to be a part of. I've always wanted to do that, like be on a big production. So
it was super impressive, and it was just killing me to sit in that seat, except I couldn't move because I was right across from Katie Couric. But just it was really impressive. The whole dynamics of the team. They did a fabulous job. I traveled from the East Coast to the West Coast a few months ago, and I watched all of season 1 on Alaska Airlines, because they're available, this Homemade Live season 1, and so that was super fun to watch that, and then actually be here in the studio for one of the shows. So look out for season 1 is available now in a couple of places. Alaska Airlines, is it Amazon?
Yeah, on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So look for it. It's really fun. And then season 2 I think is October. So definitely check that one out. So really, really fun. And really nice segue here for our with our partner tonight. One of the things Katie Couric said when she was doing her thing, like standing right here, like where I'm standing. Okay, I'll stop gushing. But it was really a thrill. She said, "I'm a carnivore." And she said it with enthusiasm. I'm a carnivore. So she loves meat, and we are working with our partner tonight, Northeast Beef, and so we're so happy to be here with them and showcasing some beautiful, tonight we're using top sirloin, but I'm gonna talk a little bit more about different cuts that you can use and even different cooking methods. Even though this one we're using tonight, the recipe is so straightforward and delicious and creative. You don't have to change a thing, but there's a lot of room for tweaking it a little bit or changing it or making it more in the winter months, making a different type of dish. So we have chosen the top sirloin to use for this, Kabobs, and again the Northeast Beef has a fabulous website, and you can go to it's just really interactive and really informative, and you can go and click on which meats are good for grilling techniques and all different kinds of cooking methods. So we're grilling the kebabs tonight. We're gonna grill indoors. You could do this, definitely you could do this outdoors or indoors. And just make sure you have good ventilation if you're doing it indoors. And we're gonna use the top sirloin, but you could definitely use a ribeye. You could use a New York strip. You could use any of those meats that are a little more tender for this. Now we're going to cook it to 145, USDA recommends 145 internal temperature. That can still have a little bit of pink in it. So these are the cuts that we want to use for that. I'm going to cut the meat into cubes. Now you could vary the size depending on your grill, your preferred doneness for meat, and your time. How long do you have to cook them? How long do you want to be standing at the grill? So I'm just cutting them in about 1-inch cubes. The important thing is to remember to cut them all about the same size. And then I'm going to toss those into a bowl. This is a really nice lean top sirloin. The top sirloin does not have a lot of meltable fat like a ribeye or something would, where you see the lines of fat, which are delicious. But this is a leaner cut, but it also, when it's cooked properly, can definitely stand up to a hot and fast cooking method and still be really, really tender. So we're gonna put that into a bowl, and then I'm gonna trade out my cutting board here since it had raw meat on it. And clean my knife with a sanitizing towel. And then I'm going to make a very simple but super flavorful spice rub to put on here. So what we have for the spice rub, and I'm going to do that, make that into this little bowl here, is 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then I've combined the spices. So what we have is a sweet paprika. Remember the difference between, I've talked about this before, sweet paprika and sweet Hungarian paprika and Spanish paprika are quite different. The Spanish paprika is smoky in flavor, so like a barbecue potato chip or something. And it definitely has an pretty intense smoke flavor. It's nice and sweet and smoky. The Hungarian paprika is just a sweet paprika. There's no heat really with the paprika. So I think a smoked paprika would be completely fine in this dish, but it kind of benefits and highlights some of the other spices if we use the sweet paprika. But either one would work, but I'd recommend sweet if you have a choice. Okay, so we've got the sweet paprika, we have cumin, ground coriander, and then garam masala. So the garam masala is a spice blend. It's used in a lot of Middle Eastern and Indian cuisine, and it's a blend of spices. And I've noticed when I purchase garam masala that if you read the label, the list of ingredients can vary. So the one that I bought the other day, it was absolutely delicious. It was a little bit different though than ones I've used in the past. And it actually listed saffron, which is a very expensive, the world's most expensive spice is saffron. And it had saffron, paprika, chilies and salt and garlic, and then it listed spices. And so I'm like, I wonder what those other spices were. So I don't know. But since they didn't identify what those spices were, it indicates that it was a very, very small amount. But just something to be, curious about, reading labels in the grocery store. Garam Masala sometimes will have a turmeric in it. It'll sometimes have coriander, cumin. It's just a spice blend that varies. And it usually varies either from country to country, and also within that country, it can vary from region to region, and the ratio can vary. So it's a little vague, but it's a really nice kind of a complex spice. And I would just tell you to read the label. Make sure it's everything that you like or can have. Maybe there's some allergies somewhere in there. Yeah.
I shared an article in the chat. It's the Spruce Eats article. What is garam masala?
Oh.
If people want to learn about it, and like you're saying, if there's something you can't eat, like if you can't eat turmeric or something like that, you could make your own blend. Is
that a short enough little something that you can tell us what it says, or does it just go on and talk about?
It says kind of what you said, like the regionality, and that there's different blends, and then within it there's a recipe as well. Let me see. Which is great because you can start with whole spices. So you can like toast those and really get the most out of the flavor. So 3 tablespoons coriander, cumin, cardamom, pepper, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg.
See, lots of different ones.
Yeah, if you don't like nutmeg, like you could customize it to what you want.
Yeah.
I know you love this blend, so.
I do like this blend, and if you just smell it, it's like, yeah, I like that. And I don't think there's anything that I need to be concerned about, but it is something to be aware of if you are cooking for somebody that has some allergies or something. So, yeah, I thought Meg, after her week last week, would be just wiped out when I got here today, and she said, let's toast our own spices and let's grind our own spices. And I'm like, wait a minute, didn't you just work like 80 million hours last week or something? She's like, oh, and so we didn't, because there was some hunting and searching and things to do. Look at this kitchen. Those of you who maybe you haven't seen this kitchen, I don't know if you have, you're regular homemade people, this kitchen, it's transformed. I mean, it was beautiful before, wasn't it? But look at it now, it's so, so pretty. So they were busy. There's been a lot going on here. So I just put that rub, and I did add, I don't know if you saw me add the salt. You could add a little more pepper if you'd like. There's not a lot of spice heat going on in this yet. But what I like about this dish and this flavor profile is that it has a really nice complex spice taste to it, but it's not hot. I think it will appeal to those that love hot, spicy food, and to those that are kind of, I hope nobody's offended by me saying a heat sissy, okay? I live with a heat sissy, and I'm at the other end, and we ate this together, and we both loved it. Like, it was enough for me. I didn't have to add a bunch of extra heat, and it was like, wow, that's not hot, spicy for him. It was just really nice and complex. So that's what I love about this flavor profile, is I usually would mix with my hands if I'm at home. I love my clean hands as kitchen tools, but I'm gonna go right into cutting the vegetables here, so I did not wanna put my hands in there. And if you have, when you're cooking at home and you feel safe and you're working really in a very sanitary environment, I love my hands for a kitchen tool. I think they're great. So 30 minutes to overnight is what the recipe recommends. A minimum of 30 minutes. I believe that if you let this sit overnight for 24 hours, it's going to be better. Is it delicious after 30 minutes? Yes, because that's how I tested it at home, and it was absolutely delicious. But if I had the time and I thought about it ahead of time, I would probably let it sit overnight. Is the marinade going to tenderize it anymore if you let it sit a little bit longer? I don't think so, maybe a little bit, but I think the meat is already, top sirloin is going to be tender. It's going to benefit from this spice rub, and our cooking method is going to help keep it tender and moist. And I really don't think the marinade, because there's not a lot of acidic ingredients in the marinade, that you're not going to get that extra benefit of sometimes a marinade with acidic ingredients will tenderize the meat. So how are we doing? Am I moving along too fast here? Are we doing well?
Doing great.
Okay.
Everyone's just talking about the new stove and how
I know.
the old temperamental stove is gone.
Yeah, I didn't get to say goodbye to the stove. I asked Meg if it was coming back today, and she said no. And I said I was kind of torn about the stove. You know, it took us a while. Our relationship developed over time, and I have a little soft spot in my heart for that. Like, where is it? And I'm kind of sad that it's gone. But I'll get over it. I'll sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, vegetables. We're going very straightforward tonight. We are using red pepper and onion. The sauce is super exciting. I can't wait to show you this sauce, and you have access to the recipe, so you may have seen that. But we're gonna go really straightforward. But when I tested this recipe at home, I had a Japanese eggplant, which I don't know why there was a Japanese eggplant in my vegetable drawer, because that's not something I would typically buy. I love eggplant, but I usually buy the bigger Italian ones. And I had a Japanese eggplant, and it was looking like it kind of needed to be used. And I had, a chili pepper, and it was red, but it wasn't a sweet red pepper. It was one that had a little more heat on it, and it was a bigger pepper. I forget what it was called. And I had a green pepper, a sweet green pepper. And it was, so I just used what I had around, and I just cut it into appropriate sizes. So please, what's at the farmer's market, what's in your vegetable drawer, those are the things that you can use for this. So the onion, I already cut the onion in half. Remember I say pole to pole if you've been to my classes before. So the sprout end is down here, and the root end is here, and the sprout end here. And then I cut the onion in half, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut the sprout end off, and I'm going to peel back the layers on the onion until I get to usable onion, which with this beautiful, nice onion today, it's just one layer that's going to go into a stock or something maybe later, right? If you can use something, use it. Just think about it. Should I put that in the freezer and use it later, or is it compost? And then I'm going to cut the onion into skewer-sized pieces. We are using sort of medium-sized skewers today. You can buy skewers in all different sizes. So I'll just cut the onion. And then peppers. The way I like to cut peppers is it's washed and the annoying little sticker's been taken off. And then I like to cut the top off. And then the bottom. And that can certainly be used for kabobs. And then I cut around the center for all my usable pieces. So everything here is usable, and all I have that goes into the compost is just this one little package right here, one little thing. So that's the way I like to cut peppers. And then again, we'll cut those into the appropriate size pieces for our kabobs. You know, the peppers are all different shapes and sizes, but making them as even and uniform as possible. And then we're going to skewer our skewers, wooden skewers, metal skewers. Somebody gave me once, many years ago, these skewers that it was like a circular that's a hard one to say, circular thing, like a spiral skewer, and you skewered things all the way around on this spiral, and it was so funny. It was kind of cool, and I had it in my cabinet for like a dozen years, and I never used it, and I kept thinking, I gotta use those, and I finally gave them away, just recently, I gave them away. And so I was like, shoot, I could have brought them to Homemade and shown them those, but I never used them, so it's kind of like that, you know, it's time to get rid of it if you don't ever use it. But they were kind of fun. And metal skewers are totally fine. You just need to be careful about handling them after they've been on the grill, because they get very, very hot. A lot of people use wooden skewers. Very easy to buy, handy to have around in the kitchen. I use wooden skewers for a lot of things. I always soak the skewers in water before I'm going to grill with them. So I soaked these for a couple of hours. I started them when I got in today just so that they can totally absorb the water. Therefore, especially if we're working on a hot grill outdoors, the skewers aren't going to burn up. Have you ever had that happen? It's like you just put wooden skewers, your grill's really hot, you're going really hot and fast, and the skewers will actually burn up. Not the end of the world, but a little annoying. and more difficult to handle. So just by soaking them in water for a couple of hours, you can alleviate that frustration and they won't burn up. And I did it even for an indoor grill. I thought, this thing looks pretty hot. I haven't used this stove before, so we're gonna do it together. We're gonna use this stove for the first time together today. And I'm sure it'll be fabulous. So when you skewer, we wanna make sure and not scrunch everything together too much, and figure out how you're gonna do it for visual appearance. How's it gonna look the best? So our meat is our star, our beautiful beef is our star. And I don't wanna scrunch it too tight together because then inside there, that's not gonna cook. The meat's not gonna cook, it's gonna stay raw. Okay, so I want them close, but not super, super snug. And then let's go with the onion. I like onion when it's grilled like this, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a fair amount on there. And then we'll just keep with that pattern, that sequence.
Chef Diana.
Yes, Meg.
When you cook meat on a skewer with veggies, like, are they kind of trading flavor within one another, or they're just kind of cooking side by side?
Ooh,
being
good
friends?
question. Good question. I love that because I haven't really thought that much about it, and I love that when you all do that and you give me something to think about like that. I would tend to say it kind of depends on your grill. So we look at this grill pan we have here. We don't have grates that drop down into the bottom of our grill, right? It's not going to drip through. Our juices and all of our flavors are going to stay on here. So I'm going to say for this that it's all kind of cooking together, and the flavors are what we say melding or marrying. The flavors are kind of between the vegetables and the meat. I love that. So are they going to draw flavor from each other? I think so. Yeah. Right? What do you think, Meg?
I think so.
It's a really good question, a really good point. That one I might lose sleep over tonight.
Yeah, I can't say objectively, but
yeah,
I think they're all in it together, you know?
Yeah.
In the grilling experience.
And don't skewer your hand. I've done that before too. It hurts. But what else is in season that could be on here? Asparagus is hard to skewer. I've tried to skewer asparagus. Anybody done that? You have to have the really big fat asparagus, and if you can skewer it, it can be really delicious. But it's hard to do. Sometimes it splits.
I like a zucchini.
I do too. And zucchini's going to be coming pretty soon, right? And I know where we live, and probably where you live, probably the whole world actually. Anybody who grows zucchini, when it comes, right? And it grows like overnight, and it gets really big. This would be a great dish to incorporate some of those zucchini chunks on there for sure.
Ooh, mushrooms.
Mushrooms. Yeah, mushrooms aren't going to give you a lot of color, but they sure are going to give you flavor. So, and that's, you should always think of flavor. I used to, I taught culinary arts forever, and I used to try and make that point with my students all the time. It's like flavor over presentation. Always, right? Always, always, always. Flavor over presentation. Yes, is presentation important? Absolutely. We love it. We love to put a beautiful plate together. And but the most important thing is how something is going to taste. What's the texture and what's the flavor all about?
It looks like we have a question.
Okay.
From Debbie. Here you go, Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
I think you're unmuted.
So I wanted to ask, every time we do kabobs, the meat gets cooked, but by the time the meat is cooked, the veggies are way overdone. What is the best way to monitor that?
Yeah, Debbie, I'm really glad that you asked that question. I feel like it's something that I should have addressed. So thank you so much for bringing that to our attention, because that's totally happened to me as well, and I see that a lot. So it depends on the veggies. Okay, so it depends on a lot of things, first of all. Depending on the veggies you're using, if the veggies are overcooked, is that what you're saying, the veggies are overcooked first, then cut them bigger. Yeah, and definitely don't. There's some veggies that you might want to blanch ahead of time. I mean, carrots would be kind of fun with a certain preparation. Carrots would go really well with this dish, but carrots, you would definitely want to cut them and cook them a little bit, because you couldn't, and then skewer them. right? So it totally depends on the vegetables, but it's such a good point that you bring up. I'm thinking, personally, I like my vegetables kind of crunchy, so I would not want the veggies to be overcooked, like you're saying. And I'm thinking, and we're gonna grill some of these in just a minute. I have some that have been marinating for a while. I think that the size that I did, and I know sometimes it's hard to see through the magic of TV here, but I think the size that I did is going to be good and give me a crunchy vegetable. We're just using onions and red peppers, and I don't mind a little bit of rawness, not raw onion on a kebab, but a little rawness to them, so they're not overcooked. You could also take the onions, if you want onion cooked a little bit more, and you could cook the onion chunks a little bit ahead of time, put a little caramelization on them, cool them, and then skewer them, and that would actually be really delicious too, because I also like a caramelized onion. So lots of options.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, great point. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make the sauce. What are we gonna serve this with? This delicious sauce that is in the recipe. And again, I have a really open mind. I've eaten a lot of things. I've tasted a lot of things. I like to try new things. I'm always trying new things. And this job here, like I can't even call this a job. I love being here so much. It's like, oh yeah, this is work. I love this. Is when I read this recipe, I'm like, coconut milk, cilantro, lime, mint, with this. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm open to that. But it wasn't like, oh my gosh, what a fabulous pairing. I would have never thought of it. It is so perfect and so delicious. It's so good. So it's a really fun, and it's really beautiful, and it's healthy. You've got your lean top sirloin. You've got this coconut milk, which is a relatively good fat for us. We have fresh herbs. We've got veggies on there. So the sauce and the meat together, but if you want something else, there's so many options. So tonight we have a really straightforward couscous with some toasted almonds. And then if you are looking for a non-gluten item, perhaps some basmati rice. So basmati rice pilaf would be good. Meg and I were communicating yesterday, and we were brainstorming ideas, and she said, what about a watermelon feta salad? We're having some hot weather here in Seattle, finally. And watermelon feta salad, that'd be so beautiful and pairs well as a side dish. There's just so many things you could do with this, so many things. So I did toast some almonds for the couscous, so I'm gonna pull those out of the oven, out of this new fancy oven. Can they see the oven? Barely.
Only
part of
a
it.
little
Can you see a little bit of
sliver.
the oven? Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. It has like this blue hue inside. So I toasted some almonds ahead of time, and I always toast almonds, sesame seeds, whatever, in the oven and not on top of the stove. I often see, probably more often than in the oven, I see people toasting almonds and things on top of the stove. So if you think about where your heat's coming from, on the stove, it's coming from below. So your almonds or whatever you're toasting are only gonna get brown on that bottom side. And so you have to toss them around and try and get even heat on them, right? So I always tell people to toast your nuts. I do my bacon in the oven. I do anything that's high fat that has a tendency to burn easily. Plus the bacon in the oven, it does not make a mess on top of your stove. So if I can, I put something like nuts or bacon in the oven and cook it all the way, start to finish in the oven. Now what's the drawback to cooking in the oven? Out of sight, out of mind, right? So you can forget about them. They're high in fat. They're gonna be almost done, and then they're gonna burn. Okay, like a second later. So you have to remember, you have to set a timer, and you have to remember. So that's the kind of the drawback to that. But they're perfect. They're nice and golden brown all the way around because the oven has heat from below and heat from above. So I highly recommend that. So we'll leave the couscous. We just finished it. It's just holding warm, and then we'll toss the almonds in so they stay crunchy. And we're also gonna put some of that feta cheese in the couscous because my genius partner here, Meg, thought of that. Feta, almonds, and couscous would be a wonderful pairing with this dish. So we're gonna come over here and make the sauce first, and very simple. It's gonna get noisy here, but just briefly in a minute. We are going to put coconut milk. Now coconut milk, when you buy it, or coconut cream, the fat will separate just like heavy cream sometimes does when the fat rises to the top. So you want to shake the can up if you're buying it in a can, or pour it into something and then just stir it. And we're going to put everything into a blender, so for today it doesn't really matter. So we have our coconut cream, and then a little lime zest. And remember, just go down to where it starts to turn light green or white. You want to stop because the white is called pith, P-I-T-H, and it tastes like it sounds. I know some of you have heard me say that before, but I try and really want you to avoid the pith because it's very astringent. It tastes like if you've ever eaten a popsicle and you chew on the popsicle stick and then you go, ooh, that doesn't taste very good. That's astringency. So that's what you taste. So you just want to stop. These are beautiful limes, Meg. Nice work again.
I love them.
You're a good shopper. You're good at a lot of stuff. And then I'm going to cut that in half and put a little lime juice in there. And the sauce does not have, I initially thought I might want something a little bit sweet in this sauce, but I was like, nah, it doesn't really need it. I wanted to maybe add a little honey, but it really doesn't need it because we're going to add some ginger, which doesn't, it's not sugary, but it's kind of sweet, hot ginger.
It's hotter than you think sometimes.
It's hotter than you think sometimes. Yeah, good point.
But
and
yeah, I think some of the spices in the kebabs too, like, are reminiscent of sweeter things. Like in the garam masala, there's like cinnamon and like those warmer spices that I feel like trigger your brain to think it's sweeter, even though there isn't actually any sugar in the
I think
kebab.
you're absolutely right. And the garam masala, like you said, if you read the label, sometimes it might have something that's a little more sweet in it, depending on which one you bought. So I'm going to transfer. Mikhailo, I'm so sorry, the camera. He has to chase me around. And we talk about it at the end of class. Yeah, he chases me around. You do such a good job of chasing me around. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and start these kebabs. I'm going to cook them to recommended 145, so we want to give them a few minutes. We're going to test out this new griddle, new stove, and these are the ones that have been marinating for a few hours. And we'll go ahead and put those on there. Start them cooking. Yum.
Ooh, sizzle, sizzle.
There's a sizzle. That's
sound.
good.
That's what you want to hear.
Yeah. And the other stove had a cool spot in the back. Remember, it was cooler in the back. This one looks nice and even. Okay, so we're going to keep the noise going here. I'm going to turn this blender on. It should blend pretty quickly. So I've got everything in there. Except for the cilantro. That's going to be for on top. So we're going to put a bunch of cilantro in there. Now the cilantro's been washed, but I didn't have to pick through that at all because it's all going to go into that blender. So that was nice. So it's been washed and blotted dry. And then this fabulous blender that's a nice secure lid, should blend it all up really nice. And it's beautiful in color as well. That was fast. And that's all there's to it. So really simple. I was thinking about all these other things that this gorgeous sauce could go on. It's so pretty. You get a top down on that. Yeah. Look at that beautiful color.
That's really nice.
Yeah. So we'll put that off to the side.
The blender just blew like a nice refreshing breeze onto me.
Did it? Yeah. The stove, the griddle's hot, isn't it? Yeah. Outdoor would be the way to go if you have one available to you. So let's rotate these. Beautiful. Nice caramelization marks on both sides.
Speaking of doing this recipe inside and we love these flavors, and I think you were talking to how this recipe could work throughout the year in different ways, and someone on the chat brought it up as well, how it would be a really nice flavor profile for a braise.
Well,
in the winter. Yeah.
we did. We had lengthy conversation about that, and I was actually, thank you, whoever did that. Absolutely. We had a lengthy conversation with our partner, Northeast Beef, about that prior to the class starting today. And I said, when I tested this at home, see, great mind, whoever you were, great minds think alike. When I tested this recipe at home, I loved this flavor profile. And like I said, it worked for my husband and myself. We both really liked it. And I thought, oh, in the winter months, this would be great for, as you said, as well, a pot roast or a stew. It'd be fabulous. And so you would use one of those cuts of meat that was more for a long, slow braise. So a chuck, some type of stew meat or something like that, a shoulder. Yeah, it'd be really good. Do we have people cooking at home?
I
see
believe
some.
Lena is.
Yeah.
Yes. And
All
then
right. Nice.
another one of our friends here, Steph, cooked it over the weekend.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's really, really delicious. And I did a full recipe at home, and then I had some. I told you my skewer wasn't going to catch on fire, and it did. You know why? Because I had it over this fancy KitchenAid stove. I put it too far out over the grill, right in the flame. We had some left over because we made a whole recipe, and I made a salad the next day, and we had some feta cheese, and I made a green salad, and then a little feta cheese, and I forget what else we had, some ripe tomatoes, and then just ate them cold with a salad, and it was a meal. It was delicious. It was so good. So we'll go ahead and finish the couscous. So super simple couscous recipe. You buy instant couscous in the store, usually available in the bulk section. And I do pretty much 1-to-1, meaning one liquid to one couscous, and then I add just a smidge more liquid, if that makes sense. So it's not exactly 1-to-1, it's just a little more liquid. So vegetable broth, beef broth, water. Water works fine too, especially when you're pairing it with all these other delicious flavors we have. And then I bring the water to a boil, or liquid to a boil, maybe a little pinch of salt, not much else in there. I stir in the couscous, I put the lid on, and I take it off the heat for 5 minutes. So it's a really straightforward, easy thing to serve with this dish. And then when it comes off the stove, you should be able to just kind of fluff it up. This is set a few more minutes. And a fork works really well for this too, for fluffing it up or just breaking up any. Couscous is, when I ask people what couscous is, sometimes people say it's a grain, and that's partially right, but it's just pasta. It's just a small pasta. It's flour, semolina flour, and water, and it's made into tiny little irregular pellets. But the cooking method is different than pasta, right? Typically, the way we make pasta. So couscous in the bowl for serving. And then we have the delicious feta cheese, crumbled. Feta's a cheap milk, kind of salty, has a little bit of a texture to it, which is nice. And then our toasted almonds. And a little chopped cilantro would be nice on there, but we really don't need it with this dish because we're serving with that gorgeous sauce, which will add our color to our plate. And I think those are cooking along pretty well here. And I'm going to go ahead and put the sauce into a smaller. I liked to do this at home to serve it. I put a little bit of sauce on the plate because I think it's so pretty. Rather than drizzling it on top, I sort of liked it on the bottom. And then I put some off to the side because you're going to want more. You're going to want more when you sit down to the table and eat. And this grill's working really nicely. I'm going to pull these off in about 30 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and now give the couscous a little stir. I just wanted to make sure that those almonds didn't get too soft and that they maintained some of the crunch. Whoops. And then we'll go ahead and put the kabobs on the platter, and you could go directly to a plate if you were sitting down and ready to eat. And then the herbs are so nice right now. It's such a fun time of year with the farmers markets and what's available at the store. So we have fresh mint that's been washed that pairs so well with this. Just tear, not big, huge pieces. You could also, fresh basil would be good on here. Some snipped chives, just a combination of herbs. I love mint. And it pairs really well with that cilantro that's in the sauce too. And then we could put some on top of our couscous for a little extra color. Okay, so that's pretty, isn't it? That's not too bad. And then if you wanted to plate it individually, you could put the couscous. I love to use bowls for plating things, especially when we're working with something. The sauce is not super thick, which is a feature that I really like. In that sauce, I prefer a thinner sauce. I like to use bowls rather than plates sometimes, depending on what we're making. Plus, bowls are sort of popular now. There's restaurants that serve just bowls, right? Different types of bowls, poke bowls and things. So, little couscous on the bottom, and then definitely some sauce. I'm going to go ahead and take one of these here. And if you're going to plate for people, sometimes people don't like to navigate the skewer. So you could actually slide, using tongs or clean hands, you could slide the components off, and the juices are really nice. They're kind of coming with it. You could just do that little piece for your guests or your loved ones or for yourself, right? How about that? And then not have to navigate that skewer and just get rid of that. And the extra sauce for sure on the side. And I think there's enough seasoning that I wouldn't finish it. Sometimes I'll finish a dish like this with a little extra coarse sea salt or something, but I just don't think you need it. I think there's enough flavor. There's enough going on in there. Yeah, so make sure you go to that Northeast Beef and check it out. Great techniques, good recipes. I love the diagrams where they show you where different cuts come from and what they can be used for. So really, really good information there. And what else? Can I taste? Ready?
Yeah, you taste.
I taste? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that they also have a bunch of like grilling recipes and grilling tips if you're going to be grilling this weekend. And you're like, I don't know how long to cook this.
It's grilling season, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. Really good tips. And I've noticed also that a lot of the beef is, you walk into the store, I love this, it's like, it's ready for you. It's right there front and center as soon as you walk in the door. They've got their displays up. So beef, it's what's for dinner. It's like great, there's great recipes and tips in there, as Meg said. So sauce, a little couscous, piece of mint.
We got Lena's Kabobs and a perfect little dollop of sauce, too.
Beautiful, Lena. That top sirloin is so tender and delicious. There's my dinner. Good job. Thank you all. It was so good to see you. I'm so happy we're all back in this fabulous kitchen and all the great success of homemade last week. And classes that are coming up, we have, next class is birria tacos. with American lamb. That'll be on Tuesday the 9th, July 9th. So that's the next class. There's a little holiday in between. And the homemade team is going to be getting a little bit of much deserved rest, I hope. So a few days off here and then back on the 9th. Thank you all so much.
Thanks,
Eat
everyone.
well, be well. Thank you. Bye.